Hey guys, welcome back to another Dragonheir Silent Gods video. In today's video, as you can see over here, Pillar of Trials has just opened on Season 4, so I'm going to be jumping in and running through the teams I'm using, as well as talking about how you're going to actually tackle some of these stages and the bosses. Before I get into that though, I just want to say a massive thank you to Dragonheir Silent Gods for sponsoring this video. If you are interested in giving the game a try, please do click the link in the description or the pinned comment and get involved today. So obviously the way Pillar works is you're going to be using teams based on the elemental pairings. So we've got Lightning and Radiance, we've got Necrosis and Ice, and we've got Fire and Poison. So first of all, I will go for the Fire and Poison team just to get that one done. So Furubath is going to be my tank here. Obviously I've tried to use as many heroes as I can that I've already got leveled without having to level more. Obviously I do have a burn team that I will be using for this as well. And Elminster I have leveled as my support because obviously I'm getting a lot of healing from Furubath passively anyway. Elminster just allows me to get a bit of extra shielding and also some valuable debuffs as well. In terms of gear, we want Furubath to be in just a standard tanking set. Artifacts, we'll give him Hourglass. Then Elminster, I'm not too worried about the debuffs at the moment for Elminster. Obviously gear is a big thing, so I'm just going to make sure I'm focusing on the shields for him. Let's see if we can get a rune for him. That'll do the trick. We'll take that accuracy one. So he does have a good amount of accuracy still anyway. Then we've got my primary damage dealer here in Ashetius. So Ashetius has his exclusive artifact and he's going to wear my primary damage dealing set. And so he does actually only need 80% crit rate because of the exclusive artifact. So he is slightly under cap, but it's fine. It'll do the trick. Durham, I'm going to be giving the Witch's Remains to this set here. And then finally, my Majtan here is in a gear set that I'm going to be using anyway. So just to check that, obviously it's a very broken set, but we've got nearly 70% crit rate, which is all I need with the the Poison of Swamp artifact. And then I've got some attack and crit damage as well. Accuracy is not too important because after the first hit, Majtan actually ignores resistance once she's used the ultimate skill. So I'll still be able to place burns with her. I'm going to save this team as well as fire. There we go. Right, so let's jump into it. Obviously, I will speed through as much of these as possible. And when we get to the boss, I will talk about how the boss works for the Fire and Poison. And then we'll move on to the next one. So I'm going to jump out while this runs through the first 9 stages. I'll be back on stage 10. Alright, there we go. So that's the first 9 stages cleared. Now we can move on to the boss. I just want to check if we can actually access the information of the boss from here. Yep, perfect. So obviously you'll deal with 2 waves as normal and then you'll have the boss phase. This is every 10 stages, I believe, of Pillar. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60, obviously being the final stage. So this boss has a passive skill. When taking damage, has a 15% chance of inflicting 1 stack of poison on the source of damage. So obviously we're going to get some poison debuffs. It's immune to all control effects. Its first skill, Overflowing Taint, deals poison damage to enemies within range with a 100% chance of inflicting 5 stacks of poison on the attack for 20 seconds. Then we've got deals poison damage to all enemies and inflicts poison explosion. And finally, deals poison damage to enemies within range with a 100% chance of inflicting 5 stacks of poison on the attack for 20 seconds again. So the big problem on this boss is going to be the second skill here, where it inflicts poison explosion. So to counter this on higher levels, it won't be necessary on stage 10, but to counter this, we want to make sure we're cleansing those debuffs, especially before this skill goes off, because obviously the more poisons it's got, the more damage that's going to deal. So you want to make sure you've either got somebody to cleanse them repeatedly through the fight or block them, and make sure you've got as few as possible poison stacks when this skill here goes off. As well as that, obviously you do have 2 adds that spawn with it, and they will deal poison damage to the enemy, resets the duration of their poison, and spreads their poison to nearby enemies. So if you don't have a capable cleanser, you want to make sure that you are spreading your team enough to obviously avoid this being spread. If you don't have nearby enemies, it won't do anything, but it is going to reset the duration of the poisons. So it is a fairly simple boss. Obviously, the biggest thing you need to think about is having somebody to manage those poison debuffs, somebody to cleanse them. However, like I said, this is only really a thing for the lower levels. Once you, for the higher levels, once you get past like maybe 30, then the boss is going to start to become a little bit more tricky, and you might need to think about its mechanics a little bit more. But until then, a team of level 100s should probably get through it relatively easily. Obviously, these are the two ads here. You normally, on auto, will passively kill these first and then focus on the boss. However, like you see there, it just melts on stage 10, so we're not going to really get anything out of that. Obviously, at level 10, we do pick up a Heliolite dice as well, which will be really good for building up your stockpile again, ready before the Calavera events start in 2 weeks' time. So that is the Pillar of Taint for Fire and Poison done. We'll now move on to the Pillar of Dark for Frost and Necrosis. So once again, I'm just going to quickly build my team, and then we will jump into it. However, in terms of my team, I'm going to be using the team I use for Grave of Venom. So as my tank, I've got Quasitia, so she is built with the Rift Hourglass and then defensive stats. My primary damage dealer is Beldel, so Beldel is built with enough crit rate for the Poison of Swamp, and then just damage. Then next up I've got Shinna. Shinna's there to enable my Beldel, so obviously she is providing Witch's Remains and a mass amount of ice crystals to enable my Beldel to do damage. I've then got Astyon. Astyon is incredibly strong, obviously steals the HP and defense of the nearest enemy, gives that to my Beldel just to make her tankier, but also provides a large amount of healing, and also in Pillar it's going to be really useful because her battle skill does do an AoE stun. And then lastly we've got Philosia. So Philosia is my main support in this team, obviously massive shields. She's wearing the Aurelian Vest artifact to give me that damage reduction as well at the same time as shields, which stacks really nicely with the damage reduction that she's bringing on her ultimate anyway. So once again, I'm going to jump into this. I will be back when we get to stage 10 and we'll look at what the boss does. And there we go. So that's the first 9 stages of the Pillar of Ice done, or the Ice Necrosis done. So we're now on to the boss here as well. So we're just going to run through the skills here. So we've got the Pillar Warden Dark. So first of all, we've got a passive skill. The basic attacks have a 30% chance to inflict fear on the target for 5 seconds. Then obviously we've got the Control Immunity. The first skill here, which is obviously the same as the ultimate skill, deals necrotic damage to enemies within range with a 50% chance of inflicting fear for 5 seconds. And then the second skill deals necrotic damage to all enemies, granting 30% attack up to all necrosis elements for 10 seconds. And obviously, like I said, we will repeat the fear attack here. Then we've got the poison element, the necrosis element, to deal massive necrotic damage to an enemy. That is based on target's max HP. So the best way to counter this boss is, first of all, the attack penalty here, the attack buff here, it's got to go. Obviously, on later stages, these are going to start hitting incredibly hard, and you don't want to take hits from that attack up because it's going to do a lot more damage and be a lot harder to deal with. So having somebody in there who can either remove the buffs or block the buffs is going to be really important for you. And obviously, with the other 2 skills, you're going to be getting a lot of control, which is going to make it harder to stay in tune to block those buffs. But if you can have somebody with control immunity, then it can be really helpful for you. Obviously to avoid getting that fear. Outside of that though, obviously the biggest thing is going to be trying to focus on dealing with the attack up. So somebody like Astyon here is perfect because on her ultimate skill, if you build her with enough accuracy, she has a chance to replace the buff that they're getting with a random debuff. So it could be that they get attack penalty instead of attack up. It could be that they get buff prohibition, which is obviously not going to be important because the buffs have already been removed. Recharging speed penalty is obviously a very good one as well, just to slow the fight down and allow you to rotate through your skills faster, which is going to make the control from the fear a little bit less important as well. As well as that, you could bring in somebody who actually just outright removes the buffs. Obviously, I've got Vinyara, who I would probably use if I needed to, but I will likely just build a Astyon with accuracy for this fight. So that is all for this fight. It's not massively complicated. All of the Pillar of Trials bosses are pretty straightforward in terms of the amount of mechanics that they've got to deal with. It's just a case of they do hit quite hard on the later levels. So once you've got your Psychic Core going, surviving them shouldn't be too much of a problem as long as you're not ignoring defensive stats completely. So obviously pushing through the Pillar of Dark took a little bit longer because I'm using a single target team. So I don't really have any AoE to just blast through the waves. But as you can see here, obviously on auto, it will focus killing one of the ads first from my melee and then focus on the boss, but the boss just falls over. So that is stage 10 done for the Pillar of Dark. Let's move on to the Lightning Radiance one, which is the Pillar of Light. So for the team I'm going to be using here, I did build it yesterday, so I haven't tried it out or anything. I've not used many of these heroes in other places yet this season. So we've got Fathom Down as my tank. I'm going to be using Acilia as well to obviously provide my healing. And then I've got Tamar and Theohine. So Tamar's going to be in here for kind of control, and Theohine is going to be my secondary damage dealer. So I'm just going to pop them like this. Do that as well. Right, so for gear, first of all, sorry, I do use Fathom Down and Grave of Curse, so he's in the gear that I use for that. Let's quickly swap this out. So Fathom Down, because of the amount of times he hits, is going to be my Witch's Remains. Then we've got Acilia. So Acilia is all about healing, so I'm going to give her the, well, healing and debuff control. So I'm going to give her the Horn and this build here. What runes can I give her? I don't have a lot leveled, and there we go, unless I've got a legendary one. No, so we'll just throw that one up to level 16. And on the negative rune, I will see what we've got again. You know what? We'll use this defense one. I'm only going to take it to 16 for now because it costs a lot of gold to take it all the way to, oh, nice triple HP roll. Takes a lot to take it all the way to 20 at the moment. Next up, we've got Tamar. So Tamar is obviously going to be in here for control. So because I've not got her booked, I'm going to give her the Hourglass. And then I will give her my Accuracy DPS set because that will do the trick. Actually, no, I'm not going to. I'm going to give her my Accuracy Skill Haste set that I've got here. I'm not too worried about her damage. That'll do there. And then I just want an Accuracy, that one there. Nice with a Skill Haste roll as well. So that is how I'm going to build Tamar for the time being. Until I've got a bit more gear, I can't be massively creative. Obviously, the reason for that is I want to give this set here, ignoring the accuracy, is pretty good damage stats for my second damage dealer. And then what I can do is if I use the Poison of Swamp artifact, I can drop a little bit more, so I can drop 11% crit rate. I don't know if I've really got anything to make that change with. No, probably not, so we'll probably stick with this. And then obviously we want to get some damage in there. That one will do. And we want some attack here as well. I don't want the crit rate to roll on this, but if it does, it will be useful later down the line. Go, only one roll. So obviously I am over crit capped, but that is the build for my second damage dealer. And then my first damage dealer here is Amon Leda. She does have the exclusive artifact. I haven't saved the updated gear set for her. She was meant to be wearing that actually. Let's quickly find her some gear. Wear that without a problem. Can I match the sets here to get some more attack, I wonder? Don't know that I've got that, but I don't need the crit rate on Amon Leda. So that is how I will build this for now, unless I think my only chest to a triple crit rate apart from the one I'm wearing. Yeah, that'll do. We're just going to wear broken sets here, so 338% crit damage and 3,503 attack. So that is the team here. Once again, obviously, I'm going to run through the first 9 stages. I will be back on the boss to talk about how that works. And there we go. So that's the first 9 stages of the Pillar of Light cleared now. So we're now on to the end game boss, or the end boss of the Pillar of Light. So if we jump in here and have a look at what it does. So the Pillar Warden Light, the passive skill here, each surviving Radiance element grants a Pillar Warden a 40% damage reduction. Obviously we've got the control immunity that all of the bosses have. Then we've got Bright Torrent, deals radiant damage to all enemies within range and heals all radiance elements by 1,500% attack. Obviously that's going to keep these alive, which is going to keep the damage reduction buffs on the boss. Then we've got Elemental Whistle, deals radiant damage to all enemies, granting ally protection to all radiance elements for 10 seconds. Once again, obviously this is going to significantly reduce the amount of damage you're able to deal to the elements to kill them. And then we've got Bright Torrent, deals radiant damage to enemies within range and heals all radiant elements by 1,500% of its attack. So as you can see here, all of the boss's skills are all about keeping these radiance elements alive. Once they are dead, your time is going to be significantly easier at killing the boss. Obviously, it's going to take a lot more damage. Well, it's going to have a 40% damage, 80% damage reduction at the start. And obviously, killing these off is going to enable you to actually get through to the boss and deal damage to it. So the skills that the ads have is deals radiant damage to enemies within range, ignores 50% of the enemy's defense. So on higher stages, this will hit quite hard. Obviously, ignoring half of your defense is never a nice thing. So you want to make sure that you are focusing on these quickly. You want to be quite tanky because obviously the damage you're going to be taking is quite high. Obviously, heal reduction is a really good thing here as well to prevent the heals from the boss. However, I've never used it in Pillar of Light myself, but it could be very useful to help you to slowly whittle them down and ignore the healing. Obviously, if you can, remove the ally protection buff, but it's probably not the worst thing in the world to leave. It's not going to kind of break your run unless you're running out of time, in which case, obviously, try your best to remove that. But you need to focus on killing these ads first and then move on to the boss. So the way I've got this positioned, obviously, I'm probably going to kill the one on the left quite quickly, and then the other one, I imagine they won't hit on auto. So if I was struggling on higher stages, I'd take it off of auto and manual that. At the same time, though, I think they should all be within range for AoE hits, which we'll check in just a sec. So first of all, let's get through the first two waves. Obviously, with both ads up, you'll notice the double stack on the boss, so that's 80% damage reduction. Obviously, this skill here and this skill here is when it's going to heal the boss, and then this one's when the ally protection comes in. So we just want to be focusing on killing those ads as soon as we can, just to avoid, obviously, having that having the fight drag out so long from them being up constantly before we can start dealing damage to the boss. So there we go, they're both dead now, and the boss will just melt at this point. And obviously, like I said, on higher stages, it's going to be significantly harder. Everything's got more health, so killing those ads will take longer, and you could end up a little bit strapped for time to kill the boss at the end. But that is 30 stages of Pillar of Trials cleared today. Obviously, from here on out, I think it's 2 released per day. Yeah, so 1 stage per day for the next 10 days, and then once we get to stage 20, we get 2 stages a day. This does mean that we won't be able to get the epic from this until, well, another 10 days from now, which is a bit of a shame. I'm hoping that the Famiander one, in fact, is the Ice Blast epic, because I'm kind of holding out on that to improve my Vortex team. But other than that, every day now for a while, we're going to be able to clear some of these stages here to get some really good rewards. Obviously, legendary crafting materials early on really helps. We can get some Heliolite dice, Worm Arrow, more crafting materials, the upgrade items to legendary, which are incredibly valuable, as well as Master Scrolls and obviously more Heliolite dice. But it also gives you a lot of your Psychic or upgrade materials, so it's definitely worth doing in the current point of the season. A lot of people do wait till the end, but you miss out on a lot of valuable rewards by doing that. Because obviously towards the end of the season, you don't need any of this, and you're less reliant on the resources to upgrade your artifacts as well, because by that point you've got quite a lot of it. So that is all for this video today. I do just want to say once again a massive thank you to Dragonheir Silent Gods for sponsoring this video. If you are interested in giving the game a try, please do remember to click the link in the description or the pinned comment and get involved. But other than that, I just want to say massive thank you to you guys for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.